أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Today inshallah we are going to study root letters, what they are and how we can form derivatives with the help of their superimposition on various patterns. So let's get right into it. Alright, now first of all, just as we always do, how many words can you form from the word expect? This is of course our English analogy that we always do. So you can form, for example, the word expectation, a noun, expectations, plural of this noun, expects, form of verb, expected, past tense, expecting, continuous, right? So you notice that the root word is the same, expect, all right? But by adding by adding various suffixes, you can very easily form various derivatives, all right? And this happens in almost every language, that you have various root words, and with those root words you form derivatives, all right? And Arabic of course is no different. So what do you see in Arabic? Let's study a couple of examples. We have the word alimun, muallimun, ya'lamuna, and ta'limun. Okay, now if you notice one thing, all of these words have three letters in common. They are an, lam, and mim. Alright, and the root word is ilmun. It means knowledge. Alright, now the root letters are an, lam, and mim. And of course, you read it this way. Okay, so what can you deduce? You can simply say, or actually and see, that just by using this set of root letters and lam and mim in various ways, you can form numerous derivatives, alright, which is what you have just observed. Okay, now we know what root letters are. Now, the words can either be formed by the combination of three root letters, as we observed in the previous example, where there were three root letters, an, lam, and mim, that formed various derivatives. However, there are some words that consist of 4 to 5 root letters. For example, the word zalzala. For example, the word waswasa. Alright, so the root letters, as you can see here, are 4 in this case, right? So, and of course you can see some examples in Surah An-Nas as well. Allazi yuvaswisu, so it's yuvaswisu. That's one of the derivatives of this word, waswasa. Okay, but our major focus is going to be on the words that consist of three root letters. All right, so in this case, this one. Okay, now the most important thing about your root letters and their derivatives, of course, is that the sequence of the root letters is extremely important and it remains the same no matter what. Alright, if there is any sequence change, then the word changes, the meaning of the word changes, like I showed here. So for example, our first set of root letters is an, lam, mim. Right, N is our first root letter, lam is our second root letter, and mim is our third root letter. Alright, now what about this set? Here, once again, N is our first root letter. However, I switched the places of these two letters. So instead of lam being the second root letter, I made mim second root letter, and then I made lam as third root letter. So the resultant word that I got from this set is amalun, and the resultant word that I got from this set is ilmun. Now you all know ilmun is not equal to amalun, of course. Alright, so ilmun is knowledge, amalun is act or deed. Okay, so of course you can now see that sequence of the root letters is really important. And this sequence of root letters remains the same in every derivative, as you can see here as well. Ya'lamuna is something that we got from here, okay, they all know. And ya'maluna is something that we got from here. amalun. All of them do or act. Okay, so this is something really important and we need to take care of this. And we should be very vigilant of this thing, that the sequence of the root letters remains the same. Okay, what do we need to know next? We need to know that the derivatives can be formed by various ways. Alright, so for example, one of the ways is by adding a suffix, and we just did this. Our main word is, or rather was, baitun. Okay, now here this ba is our first root letter, ja second root letter, the third root letter, and then we added a suffix, it became two houses, baitani. Okay, so we have already covered this one. Then we could add a prefix. Once again, we've done this one too, al-baytu, the house, right? Or we could do both of them simultaneously. So for example, al-baytani. Okay, once again we have covered this thing. Now the thing that we need to know now is forming a derivative by giving the root word a skeletal makeover. Now what do I mean by skeletal makeover? We all know that the sequence has to remain the same, sequence of the root letters, alright, that has to remain the same. Now what is the makeover doing then? By makeover, I simply mean that the harakat get altered. They may or may not get altered. Okay, so there is a possibility for the harakat to get altered or the addition of some extra letters. So our main word was baitun, right? And if we see this word, it's buyutun, it's the plural of the word baitun. What do we observe here? The harakat of ba has been changed from fatha, it has been changed to dhamma. Similarly, this was majzoom, this ya had sukoon on it, right? Here ya is carrying a dhamma again. And then we see that there is addition of a vav. Okay, that carries a sukoon. And then of course this the remains the same, the harakat is actually your tanween, alright, and tanween remains as it is. So there is an addition of an extra letter which is vav, right? And there is the alteration of harakat, as you can see here. So that's how you give the root word a skeletal makeover, right? And what's a more decent way of saying this is simply, you can simply say that you superimpose the root letters on a pattern. So this was actually your pattern, okay? Buyutun. It was formed by a pattern. Let's study some more things about patterns so that you're inshallah clear about them. First of all the patterns are predefined by the Arab linguists, okay? And what do I mean by that? I simply mean that we don't need to know how they're formed. We don't need to know why they're formed the way they are formed, okay? All we need to know is that they are predefined and that this is such and such pattern, and that's how you can form derivatives, okay? Now, the Arab linguists have standardized the patterns by taking 3 letters as their standard letters. Alright, so for example, in physics, we studied force is equal to mass into acceleration. Alright, so this denoted mass, this denoted acceleration, this was force. Okay, similarly, the Arab linguists decided with the letters fa, an, and lam. For all the patterns, they used these 3 standard letters to denote the position of our first root letter, then n for the second root letter, and lam for the third root letter. Alright, so all the patterns are based on this. Okay, let's see what's next. Alright, now this is very important and quite easy, really. Alright, so in English, for example, alright, I've given an example here. How do we get the word teacher? Someone who teaches is called a teacher. Why? Because you've got the suffix of er. Similarly, if you amendment, for example. Now this meant is for showing that it is a noun. Alright, amend is your verb, and by adding this meant, you simply turn this entire word into a noun. Okay, there are many other examples. For example, expected. expected. This ed shows that it is a past tense. All right, so these are your suffixes, and while you don't really get patterns in English, in Arabic you do, but these suffixes serve the same purpose um, as the patterns do in Arabic. Okay, so just by adding this suffix ed or meant or shun or er, you simply give the essence of these suffixes to the verb that they are attached to. So somebody who teaches is a teacher, somebody who reads is a reader. All right, somebody who listens to something is a listener. Okay, so in the very similar manner, all these patterns in Arabic impart a particular essence to the root letters that they are used with. So for example, the pattern of uh, the one that we just studied, buyutun, or rather fu'ulan. All right, yeah, fu'ulun. Right, so this pattern denotes a jama mukassir or simply jama. All right, uh, anything that gets used in this pattern means that this is your jama mukassir. For example, the word sudurun, the word qulubun. All right, so that's what. There are many other patterns, and Arabic is all about patterns actually. All right, so once you know what a pattern denotes, you can very easily understand what's being said. Okay, now I have already alluded to this earlier on. So each pattern carries sites for this root letter superimposition, and I told you earlier on that the Arab linguists decided that fa and lam are going to be the standard letters by which you are going to form your patterns. Okay, and whenever you see a pattern, simply look for fa and lam. All right, and wherever you see fa, just replace the first root letter to I'm sorry, just simply replace that fa with the first root letter. All right, and then you superimpose the second root letter on n, and then r3, which is your third root letter, is something that you superimpose on the letter lam. Okay, let's see a couple of examples. So our set of root words, our set of root letters is N, Lam, Mim. N is our first root letter, Lam is our second root letter, Mim is our third root letter. All right. Now our pattern is Maf'ulun. All right. What do? You simply locate. Where do you locate? Fa and Lam. Fa and Lam. You got them here. Okay. And then you simply replace them. Okay. So what do? What do you get? You get ma'lumun. How? You replaced you replaced fa with an, then you replaced lam, you replaced an with lam, and then you replaced lam with me, because this was your third root letter. Okay, so you get ma'lumun. Now this pattern, maf'ulun, is something that receives an action, simply an object. Okay, something that receives an action. So the action of knowing something which is known, ma'lumun. Okay. All right. What do we have here? We have the pattern rather, fa'ilun. Same root letters, but this time you're going to superimpose these letters on this pattern. What do we get? Alimun. Okay. So we get alimun. How do you get that? Simply by placing this n on fa, lam on n, and meme on lam. What do you get? Alimun. It means, and this pattern of fa'il shows subject, the doer of an action. All right, doer of an action. So alimun is someone who knows. All right, so this is what we studied. We formed the word ma'lumun and alimun by replacing the by superimposition rather of these root letters on two different patterns. So we got maf'ulun and fa'ilun. These were the two patterns, and then we derived the words ma'lumun and alimun. Okay, just remember this part and you'll be good to go, inshallah. Okay, now that you know this, if I tell you to retrace your steps, all right, whatever you've learned so far, simply retrace your steps. And if I tell you that if you have the word sin, jim, dal, if you have the root letters sin, jim, dal, can you tell me what pattern is this? Pause the screen, work it out, and then tell me. Okay, I hope that you said mafa'ilu. Mafa'ilu. Alright, once again, this is a pattern of Jama Mukassir. We're going to study all the patterns for Jama Mukassir in the next lesson, inshallah. Okay? Alright, similarly, if I tell you that this is the pattern of, well, we just did this actually. Fu'ulun, can you tell me what the root letters are being used here in this pattern? I hope you're saying qaf, lam, ba. Qalb, it means a heart. Alright, so quite easy. Finally, just remember the steps for skeletal makeover was simply making new derivatives by superimposing the root letters on the patterns. What do you have to do? In any given pattern, you simply locate fa and lam and then you replace them with the root letters. How so? You simply replace fa with the first root letter and with the second root letter and lam with the third root letter. Alright, now I would want you to practice this derivative making on the worksheet that I developed, and you're most welcome to ask any questions regarding this topic and if you need any more clarification on it. Okay, so with that, inshallah, I'm going to take your leave, and in the next lesson we're going to study all the patterns for Jama Mukassir, and we're going to have an ample practice of making derivatives, uh, which would actually be a revision of these concepts as well. Okay, so till that lesson, barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al Hakim. Allah Hafiz.